I see tremendous tie-in there. As you well know, attracting new businesses and generating economic uplift is not an easy task. And there's no one simple solution. It's very much pluralistic in the efforts that you have to bring things together. It's not a one-issue type of a solution. It isn't just taxes, for example. It isn't just trained workforce. It isn't just a work environment. It's a multitude of things. It's a quality of life issues sometimes. When you are attracting businesses from afar, they want to know that their employees, if they move here, are going to experience a quality of life that's similar to where they are. And so it's all sorts of different things. When you add them up, make one area versus another attractive. And you've got to make sure that, as they say, your quiver is full of the arrows you need in order to attract and hunt those big catches. And in this case, I think Michigan is going through a period of time where, as we struggle, through this, we begin to question some of the long-held notions that we've had in the past. And we begin to make some changes, and I believe some of those changes are for the better. We begin to restructure some of our tax issues. We begin to restructure some of our work environment issues. We begin to restructure some of the other things that are necessary if we want to be competitive on a global basis. And as we go through this, I think long term, we become better. Now, we do have to make changes. I think that's the thing most people need to understand. Change is inevitable, and we have to make those changes. If we make the changes properly, we will be stronger as a result of that, and when we come out of this, better positioned than some of our neighbors. But our neighbors aren't static either. Our neighboring states are, as you well know, they're in here, I call them poaching, but they're poaching. And they're loving the fact that, even though they won't say it to our face, that we're having trouble because they can poach some of the good things away. We have to be stronger to resist that and offer, I think, twice as good in order to keep people. In other words, you can't just be as good as somebody else if you want to lure them back. You got to be twice as good as they are in order to get them back, because you have to change your perception that is a negative into a positive, and it takes twice as much energy to do that. We're in a better position to do that. Life sciences, having that whole industry develop in West Michigan, creating Grand Rapids as a destination spot for healthcare and things of that nature, all positives in creating that image necessary to attract those businesses into the state of Michigan, into the West Michigan area. But there's a lot of other things that we've got to line up behind that as well. In economic development, working with the right place, we try to do that. We try to change the legislative issues that are roadblocks. We try to create a healthy work environment. We try to have the right zoning requirements, and the municipalities working together to make those things happen. And we're talking about consolidating some of that to make it easier for people to come in. All of those are important issues that we have to work on if we want to make Michigan attractive to business long term. It's not a short-term solution. It isn't going to be fixed like a light switch overnight. It's going to take time, but we're sowing the seeds now that long term will pay dividends if we do that properly.
Well, I agree, and we're in agreement on that, and sometimes, or almost all the time, change is difficult, and we're in that season now, but by making the right decisions, I think we both said it, we're going to be stronger and better off in the future. I've been to some of the dinners and just been honored to go to some of the annual dinners for the Van Andel Institute, and I think the title I think of the most is Hope on a Hill. And not only is it very poetic, but I think it's you and others are working very hard to put a real meaning to that. How did you come up with that title, and was that someone you, just tell me how you came up with that title, Dave.
Well, we actually didn't come up with it. There was some school kids that had been observing what we were doing with the Van Andel Institute, and they took a collection and raised some money. And it wasn't a lot of money, but it was for school kids. It was a lot. It was a good amount of sum, and they wrote a check and they sent it to us, and they titled on the letter "Hope on the Hill," care of the Van Andel Institute. And we loved that catchphrase. And so we got in touch with them. And we actually brought them out, took a picture, and did the whole 9 yards. But we asked them, can we use this? And they said, absolutely. And it really started with school kids, with that simple little thought on their part to take a collection and donate some money, and came up with the idea and called it Hope on the Hill. And we've used it ever since. I think it's a great line. It just exudes, such positive type of a feeling about that, and we've used that with all of our campaign literature to show that here we are up on Michigan Hill creating hope for people that may be in a desperate situation physically with chronic disease or something like that, that we can offer that and we can look for those cures that have been so elusive.
I love that too, and now I love it even more now that I know how it came about, young people. And I just want to mention something very briefly. West Michigan, this area has been wonderful in not only its efforts around collaboration, and there's a lot of collaboration taking place, but in giving. And sometimes I think obviously it takes money to run things, but even if it's a small amount, that those kids put their, if I can refer to a biblical passage, the 2 mites in. Yep. And so that's even more meaningful, and then gave you the name. I mean, that must be a real treasure, and I can tell just by looking at you, it's a treasure to you as well, that those kids would do something like that. But the collaboration as well, I mean, obviously there's just, on the Hill there's many organizations now coming together to create what is going to be a powerful influence, not only in Michigan, but around this world, I believe. Can you say anything about the collaboration just very briefly? We've got a couple of minutes left.
Well, you hit on a key point here, and that is collaboration is the key to all of this. We couldn't do all the things that we want to do without collaborating with partners. We've worked with the local hospitals, both Spectrum and St. Mary's, in developing programs that further our research. We've obviously worked with Michigan State University and collaborating with them to bring College of Human Medicine into the Grand Rapids area. But we work with the local universities, Grand Valley, Hope, Calvin, all of those, to help collaborate with students, having internships and things like that. Everything that we want to do, in my opinion, the key to the success in making this work on a broader scale is collaboration. It makes you stronger, it makes you better, and when you look at what you can accomplish by collaborating with those folks, you can accomplish more than you ever could if you tried to do this all by yourself. So in my opinion, collaboration becomes the key word in making this a successful venture.
Dave, we've talked about the Van Andel Institute, we've talked about the Life Sciences Corridor, we've talked about economic development, we've talked about jobs, quality of life, the hope and goal of finding new cures to sicknesses that ill us. We've talked about kids even being part of that, donating and contributing to not only money, but contributing the title to the Van Andel Institute. And we've talked about your parents and their desire to leave behind something that would really impact people in a very positive way. All those are excellent. We've got about 30 seconds. Any of those things stand out to you? Anything that's just, not only you're a great businessman, obviously, but also you have a great heart. Anything that just is tops for you?
I think the one thing that's tops for me is the fact that we can do all of these things, but we can do it for something that is maybe a little biblical in passage, and that is that we are attempting to alleviate pain and suffering in the world. And by bringing all of these things together, they all touch on that common theme. That's what makes doing this so much fun, and that's what gets us energized, because we know that we're having an impact on people's lives.
That's a great way to end our program. Thanks. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the influence you are on this community, but also just your friendship. And I'm proud to have you on the program. That's the Van Andel Institute. with my good friend Dave Van Andel. This is Bill Hardiman. Thank you very much for tuning in. And next month we'll have more conversation about another area of importance to this community. Thank you very much. Have a great day.